There are cities beneath your cities. I don't mean that poetically. I don't mean it the way urbanists talk about hidden infrastructure or the way historians describe layers of development. I mean there are literal cities, streets, storefronts, sidewalks, and rooms with windows that once looked out onto thoroughfares where people walked and conducted business, sitting right now in the dark directly beneath the streets you drive on every day. Sealed, locked, boarded up, paved over, still there, still intact, still waiting beneath the foundations of the buildings above them, like a secret the ground is keeping from everyone who walks on top of it. I found the first one by accident in Seattle. The Seattle Underground is a tourist attraction now, sanitized and lit with fluorescent bulbs. It's a guided walk through a few blocks of the original ground-level city that was buried when Seattle raised its streets after the Great Fire of 1889. The tour guides tell you the official story. The city burned, the streets were too low and flooded regularly, and the city decided to raise the street level by 1 to 2 stories. New sidewalks were built at the higher elevation, the old ground floors became basements, and skylights were installed in the new sidewalks so light could reach the old street level below. Over time, the underground level was sealed and forgotten until it was rediscovered in the 1960s. It's a good story, a contained story. It explains the Seattle Underground as a quirky local phenomenon. Case closed. But then I started looking for other underground cities. In Portland, Oregon, beneath the streets of Old Town, a network known as the Shanghai Tunnels extends through the basements along the waterfront. The official explanation is that they were used for moving goods to businesses without clogging the streets. The unofficial history describes the kidnapping of men from bars, drugged and dragged through the tunnels to be sold to ship captains, Shanghaiing. These tunnels were crime infrastructure, sealed up when the practice ended. But the construction of these tunnels, their scale, their engineering doesn't match the explanation. Some passages are wide enough for carts, with arched brick ceilings that suggest permanence, not improvisation. They connect buildings in patterns that imply deep planning. In Chicago, beneath the Loop, there exists a network of freight tunnels officially constructed between 1909 and 1904. 60 miles of tunnels running 40 feet deep. Originally built for telephone cables and later adapted for narrow-gauge rail cars. They were used to move coal and merchandise. The system was abandoned in the 1950s and forgotten until 1992 when a construction accident breached a wall and flooded the downtown, causing over $1 billion in damage. 60 miles beneath a single city, sealed and forgotten until an accident revealed they were still there. And the official explanation is telephone cables. The deeper I went, the more cities I found sitting on top of their own buried predecessors. Indianapolis has tunnels connecting government buildings and businesses, officially called steam heating infrastructure. Portals has an underground network of pedestrian tunnels dating to the early 1900s. Houston has a system spanning over 6 miles. Kansas City stopped me cold. Beneath Kansas City, Missouri, exists one of the largest underground spaces in the world. Over 270 million square feet of chambers carved from limestone. The official explanation is mining. They call it Subtropolis, marketed as a business complex repurposed from old mines. But look at the photographs. Look at the scale and uniformity. The ceiling heights exceed 16 feet, with columns spaced with a regularity that suggests engineering rather than extraction. Was this really just mining? Or was the mining explanation a convenient way to reframe spaces that were already there? The pattern repeats with unsettling precision. America's underground spaces share a timeline. These tunnels, buried streets, and vast underground networks were almost universally sealed, abandoned, or repurposed within the same narrow window of history, the late 1800s to the mid-1900s. This was the exact period when American cities were being rebuilt above ground. If these spaces were built for specific purposes, like freight or utility access, why were they all abandoned within the same generation? Infrastructure that works doesn't get sealed. 60 miles of freight tunnels beneath Chicago weren't rendered obsolete overnight. Something else made sealing them preferable to using them. If you pull up a map of the tunnel systems in any major American city and overlay them, you notice they follow specific axes. They connect government buildings, financial institutions, and transportation hubs. The construction materials, the brickwork in Seattle, the arched ceilings in Portland, the limestone chambers in Kansas City, show craftsmanship that matches or exceeds the quality of the buildings above them. These aren't hasty additions, they are primary constructions. It looks like the underground came first, and the buildings were built on top of existing spaces. Then there's the ventilation. Many of these spaces show evidence of sophisticated ventilation systems, shafts and channels designed for airflow in patterns that suggest habitation. You don't ventilate a freight tunnel or a utility corridor with the same care you ventilate a living space. The specifications exceed the stated purpose in every case. The excess is always in the same direction, toward permanence and long-term human occupation. Count the cities: Seattle, Portland, Chicago, Indianapolis, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Los Angeles, where a network of tunnels was sealed in the 1950s, New York, where entire subway stations have been sealed, extending into networks that predate the subway system, Washington, D.C., Boston, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Atlanta. Every major American city is built on top of underground spaces that were sealed within the same historical window and explained away with local stories that never acknowledge the national pattern. I'm not telling you there was a secret underground civilization. I'm telling you that the spaces exist, they are documented, and many are physically accessible behind locked doors in the basements of buildings you walk past every day. Their construction suggests primary infrastructure, their ventilation suggests habitation, and their simultaneous sealing suggests a coordinated decision. Go look. Find the oldest building in your downtown. Find the basement and the door that's been bricked up. Find the staircase that leads one more level than the building is supposed to have. Find the arched passage that connects to the building next door through a tunnel that nobody talks about. The question isn't whether American cities have underground levels. They do. The question is why they were all sealed at the same time, followed by such a thorough forgetting that most Americans have no idea they are walking on a ceiling every time they step onto a city street.